So Bob Woodward has a new book out. It's called I Hate You, Donald Trump, So Much That I'll Say Anything. That's what it's called. I Hate You, Donald Trump, So Much. Actually, I think it's called Rage. Is that what it's called? I'm not sure whose rage it is. Anyway, the press has jumped on this one particular thing that Trump said about the Chinese flu. Here's the exchange. It was on tape. Here's the exchange with Bob Woodward.
Now it's turning out it's not just old people, Bob. Just today and yesterday, some startling facts came out. It's not just older.
Yeah, exactly.
Young people, to plenty of young people.
So
what's going on
give me a moment of talking to somebody, going through this with Fauci or somebody who kind of it caused a pivot in your mind, because it's clear just from what's on the public record that you went through a pivot on this to, oh my God, the gravity is almost inexplicable and unexplainable.
Well, I think, Bob, really, to be honest with you,
sure, I want you to.
I wanted to always play it down. I still like playing it down.
Yes,
because I don't want to create a panic.
Okay, so now this is Trump lied, people died, right? Trump didn't tell us, oh, we're all, you know, if we would all have just sheltered in place right away, if Trump had only come out and said, but he played it down. Now, what nobody seems to be talking about, I mean, maybe people on the right are finally catching on, because we're always a little bit behind what they're doing, because they're always bringing out one bombshell after another, because they're running an air war on democracy. Trump said this out loud in March to Jim, look at me, I'm Jim Acosta, okay? Acosta made the same charge, you're playing this down, and Trump said, I know this is bad. I only had to look at the numbers in China before the quote I'm going to play, the clip I'm going to play. He said, I know the numbers are bad. It's been devastating in China. And then this is what he said. This is cut 3. This is in March.
I want to be positive. I don't want to be negative. I'm a positive person. Somebody said, oh, I wish you'd be more negative. They literally have that. It's in one of the wonderful newspapers today. I wish you'd be more negative. Well, this is really easy to be negative about. But I want to give people hope, too. You know, I'm a cheerleader for the country. We're going through the worst thing that the country's probably ever seen. Look, we had the Civil War. We lost 600,000 people, right? Here's the thing. Had we not done anything, we would have lost many times that. But we did something, and so it's going to be hopefully way under that. But, you know, we lose more here potentially than you lose in world wars as a country. So there's nothing positive. There's nothing great about it. But I want to give people in this country hope.
So this he said 3 months. This is a tremendous bombshell that went off 3 months ago. Meanwhile, Trump was banning travel from China. He was banning travel from Europe. He was doing all the things that he was supposed to do and that the experts told him to do, and recommending things that would have actually saved lives that the experts were against. Politico reported back in March, President Donald Trump's idea of imposing statewide quarantines on hotspots like New York won't stop the virus from seeping into the rest of the country. According to public health experts, Trump's suggestion that he could put New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut on lockdown was met with broad derision. Well, most of the cases that spread through the country came from New York. So Trump was making suggestions that were actually good. And the experts, and we know how we love the experts were meeting him with derision. So Trump really has not done a bad job. Here is Fauci, this patron saint of experts now. The press has elevated this guy because he spreads fear, because he spreads it out. They've elevated this guy to sainthood, so they can't deny him now. And here's what he said about Trump, what Trump was actually doing. This is cut 16.
The first and only time that Dr. Birx and I went in and formally made a recommendation to the president to actually have a, quote, shutdown in the sense of not really shutdown, but to really have strong mitigation. We discussed it. Obviously, there would be concern by some that, in fact, that might have some negative consequences. Nonetheless, the president listened to the recommendation and went to the mitigation.
And Fauci said that there was no discrepancy, but because remember, nobody knew anything. People didn't know what was going on. He said there was no discrepancy between what Trump said to the public and what he knew. This is cut 17.
I may not be tuned in to the right thing that they're talking about, but I didn't really see any discrepancies between what he told us and what we told him and what he ultimately came out publicly and said. I didn't get any sense that he was distorting anything. I mean, in my discussions with him, they were always straightforward about the concerns that we had, we related that to him. And when he would go out, I'd hear him discussing the same sort of things.
So again, none of this would be bad. The politics of it wouldn't be bad if the press weren't all on one side. Biden is doing what his job is. Biden's job is to attack Trump. He's doing that. This is cut 12.
It was all about making sure the stock market didn't come down, that his wealthy friends didn't lose any money, and that he could say that, in fact, anything that happened had nothing to do with him. He waved a white flag. He walked away. He didn't do a damn thing. Think about it. Think about what he did not do. And it's almost criminal.
Every single thing that Biden has recommended Trump has done before him, every single thing in Biden's plan is Trump has already done. Biden's plan is to do what Trump has already done. So it's nonsense, but fine. That's his job. His job is to attack Trump. It's the press loading, piling on. And here is a quick montage we put together of Nancy Pelosi, Cuomo, Andrew Cuomo, and CNN, Anderson Cooper and their doctor on CNN, talking about the pandemic back in the day.
Speaker Nancy Pelosi told me she came here to Chinatown to combat fear.
That's what we're trying to do today, is to say everything is fine here.
She understands people are concerned about China.
But that shouldn't be carried over to Chinatown and San Francisco. I hope that it's not that, but all I can say is I'm here. We feel safe and sound, so many of us coming here.
Preparedness is always the best practice, and that's what we do here in New York. At the same time, we have to keep this in perspective. There is no reason to panic. There's no reason to have an inordinate amount of fear about this situation.
Half of the people in America do not get a flu shot, and the flu right now is far deadlier. So if you're freaked out at all about the coronavirus, you should be more concerned about the flu, and you can actually do something about it and get a flu shot.
15,000 people roughly have already died of the flu this season. A couple years ago, 60,000 people died of the flu.
All right. So now the way this works, and I just want to point out the mechanics of it, because the mechanics are important, because we always think on the right, we think that reason will prevail, that arguing will prevail, but they have a system, and the system depends upon their complete dominance of the news media. The fact that NBC, ABC, and CBS, which, by the way, each one of them did average something like 16 minutes covering this, but did nothing about the fact that Trump has been nominated for a Nobel Prize. That was complete silence on that. What happens is they say these things. They say, oh, Trump called dead soldiers suckers, which really does not seem to be a true story. This seems to have been debunked by anyone willing to come out and name himself. The story has been debunked by all these anonymous sources who've been selling lies to the press since Trump was elected. All of those anonymous sources, they say it's true. So that made the Atlantic look ridiculous. They say these things. We disprove them, or at least show, like in this case, Trump probably did. I think he did say a couple of things that he shouldn't have said. Oh, it's going to be gone right away. It's going to disappear. He should have said, no, this is a serious situation right away. I'm not arguing about that. He shouldn't have said it, but he has already said, yes, I'm acting as a cheerleader for the country. I'm trying to give people hope. This is not a new story. It's an old story. But what happens is they say these things, we disprove them, then they act like it's a known fact. So they say, well, Trump said there were good people in the white supremacist movement. And we say, no, here's the transcript. He didn't say that. And then what they do is the next time they just say, just like when he said that there were good people in the white supremacist movement, they just take it as a given. They will do that with the Trump calling military heroes suckers, and they'll do that with this again. Thank you for tuning into The Daily Wire, one of the fastest growing conservative media outlets in the country. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss out on any of our content.